Now, let's also tell you that the Central Bank of Nigeria has assured citizens that the old 200, 500, and 1,000 Naira notes will remain legal tenders beyond December 31st, 2023. The assurance comes on the heels of insinuations that the Apex Bank is planning to phase out the old Naira notes at the end of this year. Bettina Nwelih takes us through the situation of the currency.
Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has said that the old Naira notes for 200 Naira, 500 Naira, and 1,000 Naira will still remain as legal tender beyond December 31, 2023. Recall that the CBN had announced in March that in compliance with the verdict of the Supreme Court, the affected banknotes would cease to be in circulation by December 31.
Honestly speaking, it's going to be a kind of disappointment to Nigerians. It shows that the government of the day are not serious in doing whatever they are doing. Because if you say that the old Naira is going to be taken off the street by the end of the day or end of the year, December 31st, and then you are coming back to tell us that there is an extension, it shows that they are not serious in anything. Honestly speaking, there is no sign of seriousness at all. Because all we were hoping to see was that at the end of the year, everything that has to do with the old Naira that suffered us last time will be a thing of the past. So it's not. I don't think it's a welcome idea.
January 1st, they are telling us they will change the money. February, scarcity of money. There is no cash for everyone to go out. Even we can't go out when we don't have cash. So we are just praying that God should help us and convince them so they can build a better Nigeria for us.
Former CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele had in October last year unveiled plans to redesign the 200 Naira, 500 Naira and 1,000 Naira notes and urged citizens to deposit their old notes before January 31, 2023, as they would cease to be legal tender thereafter. The governor's directive resulted in a cash crunch across the country in February, leaving citizens in untold hardship, which eventually led to protests and attacks on banks in some cities across the country.
They doesn't care. They do things that suit them. They do things that they know, okay, this is the best for them. So now, then, a lot of things happen. People die, a lot of sorrow, a lot of things. Everything go in vain. That has shown that it is a political weapon. It's a weapon against party or whatever. So they are using masses feelings to play politics stuff. Now, how many new currencies have you seen outside? How many? God.
Let me, my own opinion, I would say it's good and it's bad also, because during that last year, they made everybody to go through stress. It wasn't easy at all. At least it affected a lot of people. Even some people had to, they passed out. Or some people eventually died because it wasn't easy at all. So I think maybe it's for the good for Nigeria. So let's just see. Let's watch and see. At least let's hope for the best. That's just it. Let's hope for the best.
Meanwhile, as the scarcity of the banknotes has hit some states over the fear of the end of the year deadline, the CBN, via their official social media handles, have said that both old and new banknotes remain legal tender beyond December 31, 2023. Nigerians have been urged not to exercise any fear about the December 31 deadline, adding that the Apex Bank would phase out the banknotes gradually in order not to cause pains for the people. Bettina Nwelih, reporting for News Central.
Well, to further discuss this, I'm now being joined by Onome Ohwovoriole, the lead analyst at Money Africa. Thank you so much, Onome, for joining me on the news.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
It's a pleasure. Now, Onome, how exactly can we interpret the impact of panic withdrawals on the perceived scarcity of cash in banks and ATMs? Because, of course, it's still been staggering ever since the whole cash crunch issue, a change of currency, until now, we're yet to get our feet. How do we interpret that?
I mean, I think it's just as a result of the changes you've seen so far in the CBN. You have a new governor, you have a new set of deputy governors. So it's normal that in between we have a press briefing, and in between all that, you also need to have the CBN come out, which they've done with their statement. So the country hasn't recovered from that. So that's basically where we are at the moment. Nothing much has changed since the whole cashless thing.
And in your own opinion, what measures would you say the Central Bank of Nigeria can adapt to manage panic withdrawals and ensure a steady supply of cash?
I mean, they pretty much come out to do what they can do. The best they can do is to issue a public statement via social media, via the statement posted on their website, so you can vouch for its authenticity. So I don't see much more beyond that, what they need to do. Ultimately, it's a confidence thing. And so having issued the statement, I think that with time, you would see more confidence return back on the streets.
You know, it seems to be that a lot of times so many people trivialize the impact of cash sufficiency on the economy at large. So how will the availability of sufficient currency notes impact the overall stability of the country's economy at this time?
I mean, I don't see much of a change really, because like I said, we haven't recovered from that impact. If you take a anecdotal evidence, take a walk on your streets and look at the banks. I mean, prior to the policy, you had a large number of queues in banks from time to time, but you're not seeing that anymore. So it's one of two things. People have either reverted to alternative channels aside the banks, or people are using less cash. So I don't see much of a change in that aspect. But it's obvious that we are still a cash-driven economy, and that's not changing anytime soon. So that's the way I perceive it.
Right. I remember when the cash scarcity thing started, a lot of people were saying that we want to be like developed countries, but we do not have enough or a good enough payment method when it comes to online transactions. So are there any other alternative ways of transactions that you would advise that we adopt as a country, both for individual transaction, business transaction, to reduce the reliance on cash transactions?
I think for me, really, there are alternatives. You have mobile money, you have your internet banking, but where you find the challenge is you need people to have confidence in these things, and we need to make micro payments, smaller payments cheaper. So you need to make your paying for something for 200, for 500, for 1,000 naira, less than that, figures less than that. We need to find a way to make these payments cheaper or almost next to nothing. So ultimately, where I see where the nation is, once we're able to hack that, once you're able to make the cost of these payments or the cost of transactions like that as cheap as possible, and then we'll be able to scale through. So it's not that there are no options. The options are not just suitable for those small amounts of money, and we need confidence in the system. If I'm going to take a bus, for example, now, and what does the bus driver do? So we're still a cash-driven economy. I think as we begin to develop, we would see less and less of cash being used. But you can't totally eliminate cash. There's no economy in the world that you don't have cash. So we just need to see more development, more confidence in the system, cracking those payments for small amounts of money, and then we'll have less of cash being used.
All right. Now, from a financial analyst's perspective, what exactly are the potential risks or challenges that can arise from the continued reliance on cash transactions in Nigeria?
I mean, I don't see much of a risk really, because ultimately, you can't eliminate cash. We are a poor country. We still have a lot of people who rely on daily income, who have to go out, who have to hit the streets to make money. So it's not changing anytime soon. It's not changing. At least it's not changing in the next couple of years. Let's look at maybe 5 years to a decade, and let's see where we are as a nation. So as long as you have that system, ultimately for people, push comes to shove, cash solves most of your financial issues. And so we saw it at the peak point of the whole cashless issue last year. People still needed cash, right? People were buying cash. It just tells you that, look, cash will remain or continue to play a critical role in the Nigerian economy as long as we are where we are, as long as you have a vast population that needs to earn daily income, you have a vast population that needs to pay daily bills, as long as you have a population that just doesn't have that confidence, because a lot of people are skeptical even till now with all the USSD, mobile banking, and everything you can think of. There are still people who prefer cash transactions, or they are not interested. So it will take time to scale through.
All right. Thank you so much, Onome, for joining us on the news to discuss this. We really do appreciate your time with us.
Thank you for having me.